From KVUE News in Austin, you're watching Texas This Week with Ashley Goodo.
Thanks for watching Texas This Week. Congress failed to pass a bill to fund the government this week, leading to a shutdown. Republicans are blaming Democrats. Democrats say this is all about health care. We hear from Austin Congressman Lloyd Doggett, and leaders of one of the largest school districts in the state released a plan to close 13 campuses on Friday. We're sitting down with the superintendent of Austin ISD. But first, let's get to the 3 things you need to know in Texas politics. State Representative James Tallarico is off to a strong start in his bid for the U.S. Senate. The Democrats' campaign announcing he raised more than $6.2 million in just 3 weeks, adding this is the most money any Senate candidate from Texas has raised in their first quarter. The other big name vying for the Democratic nomination, former Congressman Colin Allred, raised more than $4.1 million in the last 3 months. Arguments started this week as a panel of federal judges in El Paso decides whether Texas will use its newly drawn congressional district map in the midterm election. The state is arguing the GOP-led effort to secure 5 additional seats in the U.S. House was purely for partisan gain, which is legal. But the groups suing the state point to a letter from the Department of Justice that Republicans cited early on in the debate, claiming race was a factor used to draw the former map and is a reason to draw the new map. The plaintiffs say Republicans intentionally redrew the map to dilute the voting power of Black and Hispanic Texans, which is unconstitutional. The hearing is expected to last through next week. The Trump administration is offering UT Austin preferred access to federal funding in exchange for adopting the president's policies. A memo obtained by ABC News asked leaders of UT and 8 other universities to sign on to a compact that includes adopting a stricter definition of gender for the university and sports, a 5-year tuition freeze, and capping international student enrollment at 15%. UT System Board of Regents Chair Kevin Eltife tells KVUE university leaders are, quote, honored to be selected and look forward to reviewing the agreement. But some faculty leaders are concerned, calling it an unfair trade-off. This week, Congress failed to pass a budget bill, resulting in a government shutdown. Republicans are pointing the finger at Democrats, who voted against a 7-week stopgap measure. Democrats say voting against this bill is the only tool they have to stop health care costs from skyrocketing for millions of Americans. Austin Congressman Lloyd Doggett joined me to talk about the Democrats' fight. Anytime the government shuts down, it is critical. Talk to us about what Democrats really want to see at the negotiation table.
We want protection from a totally untrustworthy president of health care, knowing that over 30,000 Central Texans and millions across the country will lose their access to a family physician if we don't stand up to the Republicans on health care. And so we want the government open. We want reasonable negotiations to seek a common ground to protect the health care that is so vital to people as we go forward. And if we don't get that, some Central Texans will begin getting notices in the mail that their premiums are going up by 75%. And many people simply will not be able to afford that.
I have to ask you, is this the best venue for that fight? Obviously, the cuts that you're talking about were part of the budget spending bill, the big, beautiful bill, as it is called. And this is the impact of that. But is this shutting down the government the best venue to have that argument?
Well, the best venue would have been when, in the middle of the night, in the consideration of the big, ugly bill, I offered the amendment to assure that these tax credits were available to keep insurance policies affordable, and Republicans rejected that as they did all other Democratic bills. This is the one opportunity we have to focus attention on this and to have Republicans realize that if they want what they are urging, they need to consider the needs of families to be able to get access to a family physician and join us in finding a solution. I think many Republican members know this is not a partisan issue. It affects families of all political stripes and none. But as usual, they feel they've got to do whatever Donald Trump tells them to do. I'll just say in closing, this is not the most important thing, as important as it is that happened in Washington yesterday. My concern is the president calling in 800 top military leaders from around the globe and telling them they should be focused on the threat within, and talking about using American cities as a training ground for the misuse of military force. He said he wanted his military to look more like Hitler's. Well, this is a step in that direction. And the patriots who serve in our military shouldn't have to choose between loyalty to him and loyalty to our Constitution and democratic system.
Let's take a step back, because I feel like the moment that we're in now and the issues that the district are facing, they're compounded. It's layers to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so when you first think about the fact that you were going to have to consolidate and close some campuses due to the budget shortfall, talk to us about just how significant of a shortfall we're talking.
Yeah, so it's significant. When you think about where we've been over the last 2 years, we have shared with our trustees at various times, budget deficits from $60 to $90 million. We have worked very, very hard to reduce those expenses to get our budget to be in alignment, and we've seen progress. I mean, we really have. We have reorganized central office. We've reduced our costs. We have managed overtime. We have identified vacancy savings. We have done just about everything we possibly can do, and we did it in a way that protected our schools up until this point. We were hyper thoughtful about making sure that all of those reductions were taken away from the classroom. And at the same time, we also identified those things that are non-negotiable for us. We absolutely believe in planning time for our teachers. We absolutely believe in librarians, registered nurses. These are things that are above and beyond what we get, reimbursed for or paid for by the state. But that's who we are as a school district. And so over this journey, we identified, where we were and kind of what things we wanted to hold true to. But given the challenges that we've seen and the ever increasing cost of education, compounded by the fact that the state hasn't met the needs of our school districts, we're at a point now where we simply have to figure out how can we become more efficient within our system to drive, to get to a healthy budget.
You have AB campuses that are going to be closing on this list. I want to make sure, I feel like I haven't said this, but it's 11 elementary schools, 2 middle schools. Some of those are AB campuses that would be closing. What do you say to those parents? And then what do you say to the parents who say, well, you're going to take kids from a failing school and put them in my non-failing school. Is this going to make my school a failing school and put my school at risk for a turnaround?
Yeah, so, because we're tackling multiple things at the same time, we wanted to acknowledge that there are going to be, closures and consolidations tied to program movement. There are closures and consolidations tied to balance of enrollment. And there are going to be schools that are higher performing that are going to be reassigned to other schools to address the overall efficiency and the cost challenges that we have as a system. But when you look at where we're making the changes for many of these schools, they're going to high performing, welcoming schools in their neighborhood. As the city has grown over the 144 years, we have schools that are, just a couple streets apart. And so for us, we really want to be intentional and say, this is a collective neighborhood. We understand there's going to be a disruption, but at the end of the day, the students are going to be welcomed and supported at the schools that are just right down the street. And in almost every case, have similar values, similar culturally. And so we think that over time, it will really be a larger community and a very healthy community together. When it comes to other types of changes about, you said, if a failing school goes into, a higher performing school and the parent says, will our school fail? I'm like, well, what I want to be really clear is the students aren't the problem. Just to be clear, the students are not the problem. The system is the problem. The outcomes that are being produced are a product of the system that has been built out for the 144 years. And so what I'm saying is we have to evolve. We have to own this, and we have to change how we're supporting our students in order to get where we need to get. And whenever we have a merger together, you're going to have students that have additional need in some cases, but we're going to provide those resources and supports. These are thoughtful plans. Our students that are in those schools have every right to have an excellent education and be supported in Austin ISD. And I am going to make sure that they get that support and those resources are allocated. So if any parent, wanted to say that would be kind of my response. And at the end of the day, when I talk to our principals are so excited. I've met with all of them, the ones that are going through a transition, And they are so incredibly excited to receive these students, to love them, to care for them, and also to ensure that there are high expectations in the classroom, that we're allocating the resources, and that we are doing what's required of Austin ISD to ensure that they're successful in their educational journey. So yeah, I feel very, very confident that we're going to be able to support all of our students.
You can find the full AISD consolidation draft plan at KVUE.com. You can also watch my full interview with Superintendent Segura on our streaming app, KVUE+. That's Texas This Week.